I have built this incredible app that will record every time I arrive at a town or a city, a new destination. It will record it will record that I've arrived there, the time, and just a little summary about that town or city, and then leave me some room to type anything I want. This is absolutely fantastic for road trips in particular, where you might be driving around a country and you want to make notes and journal as you go, because it just encourages you to do that. It can open the app, the journal app, when you arrive, and you've got a little summary ready to go that tells you a little bit about it. So how did I do this? Well, first of all, just to say, I did this using the iPhone. Very easy sort of shortcuts on the iPhone, but you could also do it on Android just as easily. And I'll explain at the end how you could easily convert what I'm explaining here onto Android. Now, I'm Jason. I'm a 45-year-old dad of two. I build an app a week. If you like this sort of content, then please do subscribe to my channel and like the video. If you have any questions, then do comment. I want to know if this is reaching people and if they're enjoying it. So what did I do here? There's actually this really good app. Let's go to it. There's this really good app called Shortcuts in iOS, and I use that. Now, Shortcuts is fantastic for automations, and we're going to see more of that, I think. Let me go first. So I've got a couple of things I've got on Shortcuts. One automation I actually have, and we'll show later, is that I send a little, let's have a look at it. When I arrive at a particular destination, I send a little message to my wife, and I just tell her that I've arrived. She always likes me to, when I'm arriving here, because it's a long journey, she likes me to send those messages. I actually had a problem in that the first time I set it up, I didn't have a timer on it, and this caused a bit of an issue because I went out and then I came back, went out for a meeting and I came back there, and then I also forgot I was running it, so I ended up sending her 3 messages, and she was like calling me saying what's going on. So now I put the timer on it and I remember it's running, and every time I arrive somewhere it sends a message. So you can absolutely do this. You can do like every time you arrive, if you arrive somewhere and you want your phone to go to do not disturb, you want to send a message, whatever, all of that stuff is really easy to do now. In iOS. So just bear that in mind. The Shortcuts app is so powerful, and if you haven't used it, you should, and should absolutely look up what the equivalent is on Android. I'll explain at the end how you could do that, because I understand there's very similar sorts of features. So let's just take a look then at what I've done here. So this is this little app that will run, and I'll explain how I get it to run. But effectively, to begin with, it takes the current location. Okay, that's like a variable you can put in. And when you get the current location, you can actually choose lots of different options like street or whatever. So I like to choose town or city. Now what I'm going to do is, there's a step with ChatGPT which has got me really excited, but I'm going to sort of skip over that for now, and I'll come back to that because it's my favorite bit really. I'm just so excited about it. But I'll just warm up a bit to that, because then even without that, it's actually quite interesting. You can create an entry in Journal. You can put a time and a date for that entry, and you can format the date how you want as well. And you can put the time or city maybe as the title of the entry, which is what I did. So I think that's pretty interesting, a nice little automation. But where it really comes into its own, and what I really enjoyed doing, was setting it up so it will automatically ask ChatGPT. So this isn't the API, this is the app. It's asking the ChatGPT. It's integrated the ChatGPT app into iOS well enough that you can do that. It's absolutely amazing, and it actually appears in my chats in ChatGPT, so I can see that's happening. So I'm just saying, give me a 3-sentence summary about Town City in a new chat using GPT 4.1 Mini. There's also some settings I'll talk to you about. So first of all, yes, it starts new chat, just not to sort of confuse things and not having a continuous chat. And we also don't want it to show when it's run, because we want it to pop up. But this is only an intermediate step, so we don't want anything to happen here. Also, note the model I used. I used 4.1 Mini. The main reason I used that model is that this is more of a creative model. I wanted to use a mini model because I wanted it to be faster. These O4 minis are sort of reasoning models, so they can take a bit longer. I just wanted something that was going to do it quickly, so it didn't get interrupted, or there wasn't some issue where it got cut off because it was taking too long. And also, these sort of mini models tend to be a bit cheaper, and so you tend to have more queries on them. So it kind of depends, obviously, on what you're paying plan you're on and what you're paying and how else you use it. but sometimes if you use a model a lot, you sort of run out of credits. So I just thought, well, if you can use the mini models, if that works, if you get what you need out of the mini models, and I always recommend using those, or the Flash models on Google, for example, just because they're cheaper, you tend to, so if you're paying for it, it's cheaper. If you're paying like on the API, it's cheaper. Or if you're sort of have on some plan, you have more queries and they're faster. So really, if they work, it's better to use them. So yeah, so that produces it, and this is just amazing because it's just you pass the location in, and it gives you a summary of the location automatically in the app. It's powerful, and there's more you could do with it than this, a lot more. But this is effectively a road trip app, a touring road trip app, and then you see it passes the result into the journal, and then it runs. Okay, so what all of that does is it kind of tells me, well, I could go to a destination, and I could go here, manually click this, and that would set off this this app. And you saw as well, you could also have it when you arrive at a particular destination. But if you want a kind of a road trip, you don't want to be doing that. You just want to say, well, every time I arrive kind of the new town or city. Now, I don't know a way of telling it every time I arrive at this new place, do it. Maybe there is, I'm not aware of it. But there's another way you can do it, another couple of ways you can do it. So what I've actually done, so just to be clear, this is the shortcut section, and that's where you sort of create like the app type thing you're trying to do. But the other bit is the automation, where you're almost creating the triggers, what's going to set off the app. So we saw the first trigger I had here, which is when I arrive at a particular destination. And I got two more triggers here. So the first one is when CarPlay disconnects. So what's that about? So if you're connected to your phone on CarPlay, then what can happen is when it disconnects from CarPlay, it can trigger the app. I actually found for some reason, and I think some of this stuff's a bit new, it didn't work all the time. And I don't know if this was wireless CarPlay it was thinking about. And my CarPlay, my car is obviously a little bit older, and it was using wired CarPlay. I don't know if it was that. But anyway, I also said, okay, what about when it's disconnected from power? So there's that other option. Effectively, you can do, when the iPhone's disconnected from power, run this little job here, run immediately, and don't notify when run. You got lots of options, because, for example, you could say, well, run after confirmation. But I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to have to click to say yes, run. But you could do if you want to. So super easy. The one thing is, obviously, it does mean, yes, absolutely, if you're plugging it in at night and disconnecting it, then you'll also get a journal location if you're doing it this way. So you could just use it the normal CarPlay way, and that might work for you, particularly if you've got wireless CarPlay, I think, or you have the iPhone when it's disconnected from power, and maybe you delete those entries, or you could try to put some sort of time gate on the automation as well. So there's just different options, but I just think it's really powerful as it is, and this stuff's only going to get better. Remember that. So what other thoughts do I have around that? So we got the automation, we got the trigger, and we've seen it doesn't always work. And sometimes I found even just disconnecting from power doesn't work, and I've seen like an error message. And the error message I've seen is that even if, so I just clicked it, and so by accident, let me stop it. By accident, I ran it. So you can click it by running it if you want to. And I guess that's a backup, right? If you get to the town and you look at your journal, it's not there. You can just go here and click it. But that's not as much fun. One thing I did find is that even though I'm using the sort of mini model, which is meant to be faster, sometimes it said, oh, ChatGPT didn't finish on time. So I don't know what that's about. But again, it's sort of fairly new stuff, so maybe it doesn't always work 100%. And if it doesn't, you do have the option, as I said before, you just go back and you can just click it here and get it to work. So it's a pretty simple app, and many people might complain it's not an app, but I'm pretty happy with it. It's a nice little automation, and I'm going to be using these sort of shortcuts and automations more. I think, for example, there might be times I want to set my phone to do not disturb when I'm in a certain location. I can think of a few, and I'm going to be adding those as well. What about if you have Android or any other type of phone? Well, I know Android has similar functionality. I don't have an Android phone. I don't really use Android, so I can't talk to what it is. But it's not hard. Don't worry about it. All you need to do, go to ChatGPT, describe what I've done here, described literally the shortcuts app and everything I did here, and ChatGPT will give you and ask it to translate that into Android, and it will explain how to do that in Android. So in this day and age, if you've seen an idea, if you've seen how something works, but your system isn't quite the same, if it supports it, and it probably does, you can literally go to ChatGPT for a translation. You might even be able to load the subtitles of this video into ChatGPT to help you. But in any case, if you just describe to it, as I say, what I've done, what you're aiming to do, because it might be different, and say you've got Android, it will tell you how to do that. Okay, well, as I said before, if you like this content, then please do subscribe and like the video and comment if you try something like this and you find it works.